Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Abeer's Book Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing this book, The Demon Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark by Dr. Carl Sagan. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Carl Sagan was one of the greatest astrophysicists and theoretical physicists of all time, and in my opinion, he is an even better author, especially in his genre, which is science and scientific literature. So, first off, about this book, it deviates from Carl Sagan's usual writings, which you might find in books like Contact or Pale Blue Dot, and it does not specifically talk about astrophysics and outer space and cosmology and all of that, but it focuses specifically, or instead of specifically, it focuses more broadly on science and how we can use, or how science is used in the modern world, how we can use it to an even greater extent, and how important it is to be scientifically informed in today's world and in today's generation. So, this book was written in 1995, so the modern world and the generation which Dr. Carl Sagan talks about is quite a bit different from the one we live in today, but the central themes and ideas can still be applied because this is a work of science and it is broad enough that it fits almost perfectly into our understanding of science and literature today. So without any further ado, let's get into the book. So I'm just going to dive into a few of the central topics which Carl Sagan covers. The first one is the importance of skepticism. So Dr. Carl Sagan says that skepticism is not just being doubtful, or it is not just being critical of something for the sake of it, or disbelieving in something. It is a very focused and a very critical approach where you need to evaluate the claims and evidence which you are presented with. And Dr. Carl Sagan argues that a healthy level of skepticism is essential for discovering the true meaning behind things, or for discerning the truth from the falsehood. And that is especially true in today's time, where misinformation spreads so fast. It spreads at the speed of light. So being skeptical is always important. The next theme is the scientific method. Now, if you are an engineer or you are involved in any scientific community, or if you like to read about those sort of things, you might have heard of this term coming up, which is the scientific method. The scientific method basically is having a regimented approach, a step-by-step approach for reaching a certain goal or evaluating a certain thing. So instead of going head first into a topic without properly reading about it, without properly researching about it, you should instead take some time, think about it, read what other people have to say about it, reread what you have already read, and then put all of your findings together, have something original, have your own thought, and then work upon that. So, forming hypotheses, conducting experiments, and it is not necessarily constricted to the scientific community. Even if you are an everyday citizen, say you read something in the newspaper, which, firstly, be skeptical. Next, go online, look it up, what other sources have to say about it. Do some experiments like, okay, this particular source may be biased, and then, reach your own conclusions. That is the scientific method. Next is pseudoscience. Now, pseudoscience is a very heavily debated topic in today's time. Areas of pseudoscience include people who claim to have telepathic powers, or have supernatural powers, or ability to communicate with extraterrestrial beings. And that extraterrestrial beings is a very recurring theme and central focus of this book, because all of these themes and these and the things that Dr. Carl Sagan talk about are tied together by people in the early 90s going crazy over UFOs. So, getting back to pseudoscience, he says that, he warns instead that pseudoscience often exploits our natural curiosity to learn about things. And, humans have this tendency to ask questions and to wonder about things. But Dr. Carl Sagan argues that pseudoscience misleads them and steers people away from the correct path, which is towards science. Now, what is classified as pseudoscience is heavily debatable, but there are a few things which have pretty strong backing for being pseudoscience, such as UFO sightings, astrology, numerology. Those are just some examples which Dr. Carl Sagan gives in this book. Again, it's a heavily debated topic, so I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of it. So towards the end of the book, Dr. Carl Sagan talks about the role of education and critical thinking, especially in our schools. This is, again, a very heavily debated topic in today's time. Are schools really teaching children to think critically, to form unique opinions, to have individual thought and to express those thoughts? Or is school just a place where children go to learn some random stuff they don't need, and they walk away with nothing, or actually they walk away with something which is counterintuitive to modern science and modern society? So Sagan stresses the importance of education and critical thinking skills. He says that a well-informed public is better equipped at making decisions than someone who is not as informed. So he says that if we teach the right things in our schools, which are backed by science, which have a grounding in science, and if we teach critical thinking, and if we combine all of these, if we combine these things with the other topics in the book, such as being inquisitive and being skeptical, asking questions, believing in the scientific method, Dr. Carl Sagan says that we can empower individuals and create better societies, not only for our generation but also for the next generations. So this is a very heavy book, and it might not when you start reading it, it might not seem like it's very heavy-handed, but if you actually look into what the author is talking about, it is much more relevant now than it was in 1995 when this book came out. And so I think that picking up this book and giving it a thorough read is really important for almost everyone in society nowadays, because there are a lot of things which our modern society is flooded with. We have misinformation, we have biases, we have racism, we have pseudoscience, all of these things. And Dr. Carl Sagan proposes a way to potentially fix those things if we do it at scale and if enough people believe in them. And that is the scientific method, the main focus of the book. So I think I covered pretty much everything that there was to cover in this book. I might have missed out on a few little details, but that is what this book mainly talks about. Again, as I've said in other reviews of books by Dr. Carl Sagan, his writing is extremely good. It's immaculate. You will not feel bored while reading this book, even though it is so heavy, so filled with so much knowledge, and it really teaches you a lot of things. But you will not get bored while reading this book. You might think you're reading, a fiction novel for all you care. But in the end, you do walk away with something which is truly amazing. It's a heavy recommendation. I recommend that if any of you are watching this book, then you definitely need to read Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. It teaches you a lot. It is not boring. You'll end up loving it just as much as I do. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the review. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new and haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel to keep receiving more videos like this one. I have been Abeer Rao, and thanks for watching.